What's going on, guys? Tyson Training here, back with another video. And today I want to talk to you guys about maintenance phases, right? Now, the reason I want to talk to you about maintenance phases as an athlete today is because it's probably the best place you want to be in, right? And as an athlete, probably, whether you've dieted before or any of that stuff, you've probably done some type of tracking your food and, getting an idea about what you have to eat on a daily basis and how much you're having. But this is something you don't want to stick to long term. Now, when I say long term, it's like you don't want to track for the rest of your life. But you still want to be an athlete who performs at their best. You still want to make sure you're able to cover all your bases. You still want to ideally, be in a place where you can be fueled enough to maintain your weight, so in a good energy availability, right? And all this can come from knowing first, tracking, but then also when you're in a phase where you're maintaining your weight, and if you are someone who is just trying to maintain for the most part, learning to move away from calorie tracking. Because as an athlete, you want to be as well fed as you can, be optimal as you can. But this also comes to the detriment, as it can be mentally fatiguing if you're always tracking your food, always measuring, always weighing, always doing these things. And there's always a time and a place for them. So for me, for example, when it comes to dieting time, I will make sure I'm tracking my food because I want accuracy. But when I'm not dieting, like now, there's no point tracking my food. There's no point trying to be as accurate as possible because it's not beneficial for my overall mental state, especially when I should have an idea about how many calories I'm eating roughly without tracking. And so if you are someone who's tracking at the moment, you should be looking at portion sizes, okay? What does 100 grams of chicken look like? What does a tablespoon of peanut butter look like? What does, a serving size of, whatever it's going to be? What do these things look like? And start to gauge these portions, because the better you get at eyeballing portions and, getting a rough idea about what this actually looks like, then you should start guessing before you weigh it. So if you cut a piece of chicken up, like, yeah, it's about 100 grams, chuck it on. Is it 100 grams? And you're like, yeah, it is. Sweet. Okay, good. Might be 105 grams, might be 95 grams, but it's within a 10% fucking, wiggle room type of thing, Same thing as peanut butter. If you pull out a tablespoon of peanut butter, is that an actual tablespoon? If you go grab a serving size, do you actually know what that looks like? Because the cool thing is, the better you get at guesstimating, the more confident you feel, the more competent you will be. And guess what that means? When you have more confidence in being able to eyeball things, you do not have to weigh and track and everything to the gram. Because the cool thing about maintenance is that it's fluid, I should say. It's not exactly 3,000 calories for this person. You might expend a little bit of extra energy one day, you might expend a little bit of under one day, you might expend less energy. So overall though, if you're in that average, which is what we're trying to focus on most, because averages matter most, if you're in an average calorie intake that's maintaining your weight, that's giving you good energy availability, that's providing you all the nutrients you need without tracking, that's a fucking great place to be. Like the ideal place you'd want to be, okay? And the way you can do that is, again, start by eyeballing portions, figure it out, and then when you get to a good place where you're getting quite good at eyeballing, guesstimating, start to move away from tracking. Don't track one meal a day. Any meal you want, just don't track it a day. If you have the same breakfast every morning, don't track your breakfast. Track the rest of the food. And again, just keep, if you know it's roughly 600 calories, keep 600 calories free by the end of tracking. Then, after you get confident with that, pick one day where you do not track at all, okay? Just one day. The rest of the week, track. So on that one day, it doesn't mean that you eat whatever the fuck you want to eat. It still means you follow those habits you've been putting into place. You probably eat the same breakfast, lunch, and dinner regardless, or quite similar. So you don't even need to track anyways, but it's just the habit of not tracking, okay? So then when you move to that one day of fully not tracking, what you're supposed to be doing during this time is making sure, while you're having that one day of not tracking, and for the rest of the week, still take your measurements, still take photos, still take your weight, because then that way you can see a day of not tracking isn't going to do anything detrimental. Because especially as athletes, people who tend to overthink more, can get quite hard on themselves and get a little bit neurotic at times. If that is someone that's you and you tend to overthink things and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, fuck, I've got to get this exactly to the gram, and you stress out if you're not, once you start to move away from that, this is exactly how I used to struggle with this type of neuroticism. Once you slowly start to back away from that side of things, and you accept that, not accept that you show yourself through not tracking, that you're able to maintain your weight and your measurements, then it allows you to feel more confident with not tracking, okay? And this is how I got myself out of that obsessive tracking mentality, because we like to be in control, you know? We like to know every little thing. We like to know exact amount of grams that are coming in, and that's cool, but it shouldn't be something you obsess about, because you could be focusing more of your mental energy on things that count, okay? Because at the same time, you know, you want to get to a point where your nutrition supports you without it being so mentally fatiguing. You know, you're thinking about it all the time, because there's only so much mental capacity you're going to have in a day to focus on your sport, your job, your food, your training, all those other things. And so it's like, when we make nutrition as easy as possible for you to follow, and you know what you're doing, you can start to focus on other things where it may require more mental attention. Your business might need more mental attention. Your training might need more mental attention, you know? And so if we can make sure that you're getting to a place where you're able to eat the good amount of food, your weight's stable, you're not changing anything, you're not tracking anymore, and you just know, all right, after the meal I have this, after this I have this, and you're guesstimating things, and you know, at the end of the day, you kind of in your head, yeah, all right, yeah, I could actually probably have something, or no, I've had a bit too much today. That's sweet. And that's the place you want to be, because when you can just do simple things like that and not have to worry about food as much, but you know mentally you're ticking those boxes every day, you're doing all those important things, you are setting yourself up for success long term. And this is what health and fitness is all about, especially the nutrition side of things. It's not about consuming your life, all right? It's about supporting, well, not supporting, it's about being a part of your life. Okay, and when you have a good understanding of nutrition, when you have a good foundation, and when you know at the end of the day that you can maintain your weight without having to use a calorie calculator or a food scale or any of those things, you're in power now, you know? And you could actually deficit and diet without doing that too. You can give it a go. For me, I just do it because I like accuracy, but you're going to be in that position where you know, all right, roughly I'm eating this amount of food. And then it's like, okay, if I want to lose a little bit of weight, I just have to make this adjustment here, cut back this here, make this little thing, and you're good to go. So that's also the cool thing. At the end of the day, you are going to have the power to be able to control food a lot better than it controls you. You're going to feel more comfortable and confident with the choices you make, being able to be weight stable. And again, you're able to fuel yourself to the best to probably eat still way more food than most people are able to eat and maintain your weight without it being like a shitty diet. Because obviously, while you're learning about nutrition, which you should be, with whatever you're doing, you're learning about daily habits. You know what a good day of eating looks like. You know what you should be having, you know, protein every meal, getting fruits, getting veggies, getting all the things that I've covered before. You just know exactly what it looks like. And that's literally me at the moment. Every morning, I know that I get my whole grains with a serving of protein, which is also got calcium in it. I know at lunchtime and dinner time, there's always good sized servings of vegetables with lean sources of protein and some whole grains. I know in the afternoon, that's when I get my extra serving of calcium and dairy from dairy, which is my 2 yogurts, and I get 300 grams of fruit. So I know right there, I'm ticking off my fiber, ticking off my fruits, ticking off my veggies, getting my calcium, getting my protein in, and I'm not even tracking. I just know exactly those things I'm doing because it's easy. And again, we get in a routine. We're not really going to be changing food all the time. I mean, you can if you want, but you know, keeping it roughly the same just makes life less stressful overall too. And plus, you know, when you find food you enjoy, why do you want to keep changing it all the time? If you have food you enjoy and you can stick to it, then that's the most important thing at the end of the day, right? So again, definitely, especially while you're at maintenance or even trying to gain a little bit, these are the best times for you to start moving away from tracking. If you aren't at this point yet, it's absolutely fine. There's no rush for you to do it, but it should be an intention as towards that's where you want to go at the end of the day. Because you never want to rely on food scales, weighing, tracking, measuring, everything to the gram, when one, it doesn't matter to weigh everything to the gram. Two, you also want to have flexibility and you know, freedom in your life and not have this thing consume you. And three, for like, you know, especially when you're trying to maintain weight, you do not need to dot every I and cross every T, you know. You can be that little bit more flexible because your body, again, is going to work off averages for the most part, which is a cool thing. Because if you can work off averages, it just means that, again, even if you have a little bit of a mess up by, you know, the wrong tracking or the wrong guesstimate or whatever it's going to be, it's not going to be long-term detrimental. Cool? So, if you guys found this video helpful, as always, you can find me on Instagram at Tyson the Trainer. And remember, I do offer online coaching. So if you are someone who needs help with their nutrition or their training or any of that stuff, you can go to my website, www.tysonthetrainer.com, or just send me a message on Instagram. Either way, till next time, guys, speak to you then.